Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. So if you've been familiar with me from over on my main channel, it is no surprise to you that I love journaling. As someone who identifies as an Enneagram Type 2, it is a pretty important part of my self-care. So if you look at the pie chart, I got this from the Instagram, Just My Enneatype. I think the biggest chunk is learning how to say no, and then journaling is probably close to second or third in that. Anyway, it's a practice that I really enjoy. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the one journaling practice that I do pretty much on a daily basis. It takes about 5 minutes. And I want to tell you about the ways in which it's helped me learn more about myself and how it's helped me grow. I'm looking at my stacks and stacks of different journals here because I did want to take inventory of the different types of journals that I keep, and it just got me thinking. I love having a safe place to explore all of my feelings and my thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, or if I have an idea that I kind of want to unpack. I love being able to guide myself through that. I love that I can flip through a notebook, and when I sink my teeth into a page, it really feels like I'm time traveling. Like I can take myself back to a certain period in my life and just reading my writing and just even looking at my handwriting. Like sometimes if it's messier, it feels like, there was like a rush for me to get it out on paper, or maybe like I was upset when I was writing. This whole practice has been very much like a time traveling machine. I am immensely thankful to this practice because it helps me remember who I was, who I am, and who I'm striving to become. And it's a huge part of me living my life on purpose, which is what Above the Waves is all about. Just because I feel like at least a few of you would be curious, I'm going to give you a quick peek into all the different types of journals that I have before we get into the 5-minute journal. So here is my stack of morning pages. This is a custom stamp that I made of myself when I was in Vietnam. So yeah, here are all my morning pages. Not all of them are filled up. Then we have my stack of bullet journals. These are completed and labeled. And then here's my current one. I'm in a traveler's notebook. This journal here is the one where I redeem my negative thoughts in. And if you're new to this channel, I do have a few videos that I will link up in the cards. And in that, I just sit down for like 10 minutes, write down all the thoughts that are swimming across my mind, fish out the ones that I feel like are harming me or not serving me, and then I go through this practice of redeeming them so that I can get myself out of the negative thought loop that I find myself in. So that's what that is. I've completely forgot about this one, but this is a journal that I got right before we got married. It was a gift. It's embossed, and I've written about the struggles that I had through the first year of marriage, and it really pains me sometimes. Like once in a while, I'll open it up just to get a little peek, and then it's like, ooh, I don't want to visit that again. But if ever I want to relive the hardships of our first year of marriage, I know that I have record of it. And finally, the star of this video is my 5-minute journal. I have 2 of them. So this is the one that is completed, and this is the one that I'm going to share more in depth with you about, and this is the one that I'm currently in. If I don't do any other form of journaling, like bullet journaling right now, it has been something that has been kind of lukewarm for me. I haven't really been using my bullet journal. Morning pages too, I'm in and out of, but this is one thing that I will do like 98% of the time. What I love about this journal is its simplicity. So here's a quick snapshot. This top portion here, this is to be completed in the AM. And you start out by writing 3 things that you're grateful for. The next 3 things are what would make today great? And to rephrase that question is what will I do to make today great? And then there's a section for daily affirmations. And then right before bed, this is the evening recap where you write 3 amazing things that happened today. And the last one being, how could I have made today even better? because this template is so simple, you honestly don't even need to buy this journal if you didn't want to, but you still wanted to incorporate this into your daily routine. What my husband does is he's not so much of a pen to paper kind of guy. He's way more digital. He likes to journal digitally. And so he has a template that he's typed out, like I'm grateful for 1, 2, 3. What am I going to do today? 1, 2, 3, daily affirmations. And then he just copies and pastes it into an Evernote note. And that's how he starts his day every single morning, by doing the 5-minute journal on his computer. If you'd like, I do have the template typed out in the description box below. So if you want to go and copy and paste that into a notes app on your phone or on your computer, you can do so by looking in the box below. I want to focus on how this journaling routine has helped me and is continuing to help me. And I would like to start out by saying that, sometimes we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe we had a particularly stressful day or evening the day prior, and we just didn't get good quality sleep. Or maybe, you're waking up from a terrible dream. And yeah, sometimes we just wake up in a bad mood. So what I love is that immediately when I open up to a fresh page, I'm immediately starting out my day with gratitude. There's no better way to just snap myself out of a bad mood than to start really focusing on the things that I am grateful for in my life. It could just be things that you see around you. For example, I could be grateful for this cup of coffee that's right in front of me, or the glass straw that I'm using to drink my iced coffee. Or it could be maybe a friend that you haven't thought of in a while and just feeling really grateful for having that person in your life. Whatever it is, there really are no rules in terms of what you can write down. So immediately I'm programming my brain to start thinking of all the good things that are in my life and focusing on that. Secondly, I love focusing on what I'm going to do to make today great. So it's not a matter of, just going out the door and crossing my fingers that something good will happen, but it's really the question of what is in my control that I can do to make this day the best day that I can have. I know sometimes it can be really easy to get overwhelmed by like a long list of to-dos, right? Or just looking at a calendar and seeing a bunch of meetings and that leading into like stress or anxiety or whatever. But even looking into your day and thinking about how you can focus on 3 things that would make it really awesome, I think is a good way to rewire your brain so that you don't go down the negative thought loop and your day has already sucked before it began. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned earlier, I have completed an entire notebook, and this is from July of last year to February of this year. And I just picked it up one day and I was flipping through it. And what I really appreciated is that it really made me aware of the things that make me anxious, but also the things that like bring me fulfillment and joy. And as I was flipping through it, I just took out a blank piece of paper and I just started writing about like reoccurring themes that I was noticing. So then it got me thinking like, okay, I see certain things like repeating, and the days where I felt like I had a really good day, I'm seeing a repetition of this. Now, how can I take that and create more of it? Or here are some of the things that have really stressed me out. Like, how can I minimize that? And so just picking up these patterns, it gave me data to work with so that I can tailor my life in the way that I want to shape it. So I'd like to share some of those several themes on repeat with you. The first one is that there were many entries around sleep. I guess I was surprised to see how many times I've written about sleep in my 5-minute journal. So some of the things that kept popping up was whenever I had deep sleep, deep undisturbed sleep, or the nights I got to sleep through the night. Because sometimes when I'm really stressed out, I have a hard time falling asleep. And then when I finally do, but I have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or something, I have such a hard time going back to sleep. So yeah, anytime I got to sleep through the night, waking up when I plan to. So this means not snoozing and sleeping in and like missing a workout. So yeah, whenever I woke up when I planned to, that already set me up for a successful day in some sense. I also really enjoyed sleeping in on the days that I got to do that, usually on the weekends. Warmth while sleeping is important to me, and having dreams. And I thought that was interesting because I often have very vivid dreams. And sometimes if it's a good dream, I wake up and it feels like I was transported somewhere else, and I just went on this wild adventure, and I wake up kind of feeling excited. But at the same time, when I have bad dreams, I wake up and I'm so relieved that that isn't my reality. So I have come to appreciate the creativity that goes on in my brain when I'm dreaming. The second thing I noticed are the many entries around love and encouragement from people around me. And that's not just from family and friends, but there were multiple times where I wrote about specific emails that I got from some of you in response to like my gratitude email or a video that I made. And so I really, really value the affirmation and the positive feedback that I'm receiving. And I guess where I am with that now is not taking that and making it my be all end all, not chasing that approval, but appreciating it for what it is and being thankful that something that I made was helpful to someone else and they took the time to let me know. It's like with criticism too. It's like if you take on praise and you give it way more weight than it possibly deserves, then whenever you do get criticism and you give it the same amount of impact, then it can crush you just as much as the positive comments lift you up. Does that make sense? So in either case, I'm trying not to give it too much power. So it's not like my worth equals what these people are saying about me. But at the same time, I want to continue to feel gratitude and continue to feel appreciation for the people that take their time to let me know. So that's something that I have noticed. The third thing is many entries about connecting with people. Anytime I get to enjoy this beautiful island that we live on with loved ones, that was a repeating theme. Anytime that I scheduled in a FaceTime call and just caught up with a friend and my tank, felt really full after. Those were things that I saw popping up many times while flipping through my 5-minute journal. So the next one are the many entries around doing hard things. So anytime I had like a difficult task or something where I'm like, oh, I would rather run away from it or, delay it for as long as I can. Whenever I just looked it square in the eye and I faced it, I felt really good about myself. So one would be sitting down to write emails when I really don't want to. So I don't like writing emails. And sometimes I struggle with that even when writing my newsletters, even though I get such great feedback for them, right? But I think in my mind, it's a lot of the negative self-talk around like, well, you're not a writer. Stop trying to be a writer. How many mistakes are in this email? Anyway, we can keep going down the road of the criticism. But whenever I listen to the voices in my head and acknowledge that they're there, but still do it anyway, I always feel amazing. So there's one. Processing difficult emotions through journaling. Sometimes when I'm so upset or like emotionally charged, it doesn't feel very calming to sit and like write. Like I feel like I have to get my energy out in some other way. But anytime that I sit down to process my feelings, especially through something like morning pages, on the other side of it, like I immediately feel calmer. So I'm grateful whenever I have done that. Practicing patience. Anytime I practice patience and I was able to record a specific situation in which I did that, that was a thing that really made me appreciate being able to do hard things. Anytime I did something that's a little bit better than what I was able to do previously in CrossFit, always made it in here. So even if it's like a 5-pound increase in the weights that I lift or, pushing myself through a certain part of a workout in a movement that I don't think I'm very good at. Those are things that really just get imprinted into my brain. And then whenever I tackle those hurdles, next time I go to the gym, it's like way more exciting for me to think like, ooh, I did this thing that I thought I couldn't do and I did it. So what else can I do? So it kind of opens up the world of possibilities for me. Sometimes I'll sit down to film something and then while I'm editing, I'm like, oh, this is no good. I shouldn't share this. It's not my best, whatever, fill in the blanks. And then when I get through the editing and hit publish, like that always feels good. Like getting through the hurdle of all the voices that tell me why I shouldn't share something, whenever I can talk back to that and ship something out into the world to hopefully help even one person, that makes me feel really awesome. And the last theme that I noticed that kept popping up was coffee, or a morning beverage to look forward to, and having routines. So I go through stages of, like, I think last summer there was a lot of me drinking bulletproof coffees, and then I had a period of, like, right now I'm in the period of I don't drink coffee first thing, but I do a protein shake, and that's like my breakfast as well. And my coffee I drink later on. But yeah, I went through like this iced matcha latte phase for a while before I started the meal plan that I'm on right now. So yeah, anytime that I had something to look forward to and it was a routine that was predictable, and it also kind of made it easier for me to start my day because I knew exactly what was going to happen by giving myself that time. Then once I step out into the world, aka like outside my bedroom and office, then I feel like I'm more ready to take on whatever life throws at me. Okay, so now moving on to something else that I found really helpful are the things that I want to improve. And this is basically coming from the night recap, where it asks, how could I have made today even better? You know, when I first started this practice, the way that I read that question, it was like, man, my day was great, but oh, I didn't do that one thing. And it was so easy for me to view it with this mindset of like, I had a great day, but I failed to do this one thing. And it's almost like all the other good stuff that happened, it just tainted it, right? By having that all or nothing mentality. But now the way that I view this question is, okay, well, even if I had a great day, if I had done this thing, or if I had done this thing differently, I would have achieved different results, whether that's, you know, building more integrity with myself or pushing past the resistance of like doing something I don't want to do. So I kind of tend to look at this question as something to just leave top of mind, so that if I feel like the weight is still there the next day, then I'm already thinking about it, and then I can then action it. Sometimes I'll wake up the next day, and when I go to look at my 5-minute journal and I look at what I wrote the night before, maybe it's no longer a priority. But the fact that like I didn't drop the ball or kind of just dust it under the rug has been really helpful for me. And yeah, next day it's a fresh start. You know, I'll renegotiate whatever that commitment was, and if it's something that I still find that would do me good for completing it, then it has my attention. All right, so here are the repeat offenders for things I wanted to improve. One big one for me was anytime that I overate or I snacked mindlessly or I didn't eat enough. That caused me some level of stress. A lot of times, you know, like I'll be in a stressful situation and then I will reach for something that I wasn't hungry for. And then once I start, I know that I'm just doing this to escape whatever uncomfortable emotion that I'm feeling. And sometimes I do it without thinking about what I'm doing. And I find that once I start, sometimes that's how like my binge sessions occur. I'm not trying to shame anyone for doing that. I think for me, I have a hard time with it for myself when I do it very unconsciously, or if I feel like I'm doing it to avoid some sort of, I guess something that needs to be dealt with. Yeah. So I think I kind of lose integrity with myself if I feel like I'm doing it to like numb something instead of just facing it. Another thing was not making up with my husband after a fight out of pride. For this one, I know there are plenty of like, I don't know, is it sayings or quotes or just advice passed down? It's don't go to bed early, right? And, you know, I think sometimes it is appropriate to not always make up before going to bed, because sometimes I do believe that you have to sleep on certain things and create that space so that you're not saying anything or reacting out of like an emotional standpoint. What I don't like is when we could easily make up about over a fight that we've had, but I choose not to because of my pride. And I know the difference between when I'm purposely not apologizing because of my pride or when it's something that is still murky and unresolved that I do want to sleep on it. Yeah. So anytime I do the former, I don't feel good. So that's something that was brought to my attention. It's something that I'm now more aware of because of the record keeping. Next one is over complaining. I totally understand the need to vent. That has been like a hot topic between me and my husband. It took him like 7 years of us, no, I'm sorry, 5 years of marriage for him to understand like why venting is important. Because sometimes all we need is to just externally process and have someone hear us without coming in to fix the problem. Just that acknowledgement of being able to get it out. And a lot of times as we're speaking, we're kind of already doing the problem solving on our own. So it took us a while to get to that conclusion. But now whenever I exceeded the venting and then I found myself complaining or nitpicking about little things, that usually led me to a place that's not very productive or beneficial to me and my like mental health or relationships or whatever. So yeah, that was something that I guess I'm always working on that, right? And the easiest fix for me is to practice gratitude, which is something I do very regularly. But yeah, over complaining is a repeat offender. Okay, so the next one is getting offended easily. I'm a very sensitive person, and I think right now I'm trying to reconcile like understanding that, especially through the Enneagram, like twos, I think we are the most sensitive, right? And I keep finding myself, maybe less so now, but something that I struggled with pretty much my whole life is, let's say something happens and it hurts my feelings and I end up crying, then I get mad at myself for getting mad about that or for crying. So it's like I feel the shame when the tears come on, and I do cry pretty easily. And I think what I used to do a lot is in that moment, instead of acknowledging my hurt and just letting it be there, I would quickly go into like, oh, there you go again. Like, you're crying again. You're so sensitive. You need to have thicker skin. You need to have thicker skin. And, talking to myself that way has not boded well. And I think I'm learning that very much so in my 30s. And sometimes I don't think it's a bad thing to get offended. I think how I respond to it is what matters, right? Like, if something hurt me, it doesn't mean that I have to react in a negative way or like a hurtful way back to the person that did the offense. But I think I'm now practicing how to like kind of step back from it a little bit and to observe the interaction and really try to fish out some of the truth or the value that maybe that conversation has. Like, if someone were to say something that I didn't want to hear about myself, for example, it's less about like getting mad because that offended me, but really trying to understand the offense. I think the trajectory that I'm on now, I was led there because I was finding like how upset this whole getting offended easily thing has been for me. Being aware of this is so crucial in me trying to help myself in the exact situation when I find that I'm getting emotionally charged. The next thing is not working out when I said I would. And that goes back to the integrity that I have with myself. Like, I want to know that, hey, just like I would honor a commitment that I made with a friend, I want to practice the same for myself. So if I have something in the calendar scheduled for me, it is up to me and only me to show up for myself, right? Like, no one else can do that for me. And so it's less about like me beating myself up because I didn't work out, but it's another chance for me to be like, hey, Jen, you said this was important and I want to honor that. So that's why I'm going to go and work out. So that has also taught me a valuable lesson in integrity with myself. Something else that popped up pretty often was going to bed with a dirty kitchen. I noticed how much like I hate waking up, and when I'm doing like my really calming morning routine and I go and I look at the sink and it's like full of like dirty dishes from the night before, that is not how I want to start my day. After numerous times of that happening, usually it'll be because, we had a late night, or maybe I cleaned the kitchen, but then afterwards like Brandon added stuff and then I wake up to that. whatever it is, it's happened enough that now it's like, okay, I know how much joy it brings me to go and like step into a clean kitchen. So I do what I can the night before so that I can create more of that for myself. Another one that kind of made me sad when I read it was not celebrating myself enough when I did something good. And I think this ties back into me learning how to extend compassion to myself. It's so easy for me to give that to really anyone else that I feel or I see in need of it. But trying to turn that inwards has been very much of a struggle for me. So anytime I have a small victory, even if it's really small, it has been a priority for me to pat myself on the back and be like, good job. That might sound cheesy to you, but it's really something that I need, because otherwise, what do? Like, I search externally for affirmation, right? I try to get it from my husband, and when he doesn't meet my need, then I become resentful. I don't like that. So now, whenever I do something that I originally found challenging, or it was something that I just didn't want to do, but I do it, I make sure that I know that I'm proud of myself. So the last thing that was brought to my attention in terms of what I want to improve as a repeat offender is not waking up when I said I would. And again, this has to do with integrity. I know that I struggle with this, not when I'm like physically tired, but when I oversleep because there's something scary coming up the next day and I'm just trying not to face it. And here's the thing, I want to be real about this, because here I am, like, I set my own working hours, right? I work from home. And so it's so easy for me to, like, unless it's a call I have with a client or like a brand or for collaboration purposes, whatever, if there aren't other people involved, it's so easy for me to be like, I'll just start work at 10. I'll start work at 11. And whenever I do stretch the limits for no good reason other than I just don't want to do it right now, then it makes me lose trust with myself. Again, it's me practicing that compassion for myself, or like checking in, like, what am I avoiding right now? Like, why am I not willing to start my day when I said I would? Like, why am I trying to sleep it away? And so I'm using those moments as an opportunity to enter into dialogue with myself. And I will literally ask myself in my head, as if I'm talking to a friend, a client, a loved one, to really get curious and figure out, like, what's going on? You know, hey, like, are you okay? What's going on? Versus, there you go, you're sleeping, like, oh, you're so lazy, you're a piece of... We're trying not to do that anymore. When I look at this list, it's all I see is opportunities for me to practice self-care. And that is what I really wanted to share with you today. My camera stopped recording and I don't know where I left off. I would really like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on journaling? If you have a regular practice already, what are some things that you've learned about yourself through your practice? I hope that my sharing my experience with journaling has been helpful to you in some way. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, consider hitting the thumbs up button down below. That just helps me gauge your interest in videos like these. And if you're not subscribed to this channel already, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!